You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you tri freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon, the podcast where we try to simplify the world's most complicated sport and give you all the tips and tricks so that you can be your own Zen master out there when you try to conquer these endurance sports and have a good time while doing it. All right, on today's show, we have author Matt Fitzgerald. This is really cool. He has written a whole bunch of books on the sport of triathlon, endurance in general. He wrote Diet Cults, which is one of my absolute favorite books. It's a must-read. Iron War. And also the latest book he put out is How Bad Do You Want It?, which is a sports psychology book with lots of examples of from the real world, the examples you might have heard of, where what drives people and what leads to success, what leads to failure, so that you can leverage your environment as much as possible and use these things to find success yourself. And we not only talk about some of the things I found in this book and in Diet Cults and other things that he's done. He does a lot of stuff with triathlon where examples for myself of stuff that we're able to cross-reference and chat about, and how things work, and also what drives him to write so much. And it's really interesting, actually, why he got started writing and what motivates him to want it so bad. And actually, we had a nice chat about the Diet Cults part. I've done raw vegan, and I've done high fat, low carb, and had really bizarre experiences with that. And boy, we go deep on that part. That's some really interesting stuff. That's my favorite topic of them all. So anyway, I'm really excited to have him on and for us to cover some nutrition advice and motivation, which actually a lot of this podcast, Zen and the Art of Triathlon, is about motivation to get it done and how to find the motivation. And then if you turn that on its head, motivation comes from energy, and you get energy by what you eat. So there you go. This is all around like a really great episode. But let me tell you where I am. I am outdoors on a lunch break in a beautiful, it's a parking lot, but it's actually really pretty. And there's a freeway way off in the distance, but there's flowers blooming, and it's actually a little bit cool outside with a breeze. And this is all relevant because I live within an hour's drive to the west of the Woodlands, where Ironman Texas went down the other day, and boy, that was a bizarre race. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the news, and let's start with Ironman Texas. Here we go. Okay, like I said, it is cool and a light breeze here today, but it was not at Ironman Texas for the first part. And the whole thing started off with new news that they were going to have to modify the swim. The swim does about 2 miles or so in the lake, maybe a little bit less than that, and then the remainder swims down a canal to the race finish, or the swim finish. Well, yeah, it's actually kind of really close to the race finish too. And the with all the flooding that happened, and you get runoff and nasty stuff in the water, the canal isn't big enough to really kind of flush that stuff out, and it backs up. And so now that was considered too nasty to swim in. And this is on top of the bike course being shortened down to 94 miles from 112, which is a really big deal. That upsets a lot of people. And yeah, it's just like one thing after another with this race. But oh no, it it gets worse. But this is the first year that they've had it that I haven't gone to go do it, and it was just a coincidence. I'm a big fan of Ironman Texas, except that it's ridiculously hot and it's too late in the year in Texas. And in the next few years, they're shortening the date closer to Christmas, like closer where it should, because Texas is wild with the weather, as you're about to find out. It should be cooler, but man, once it hits like January, February, March, you really don't know what you're going to get. It can be really, really nasty and hot. So, let's see. The race started off, and we have, well, let's go ahead and say who won. We have Germans, Patrick Lange, or maybe Lang, and Julia Geiger. I can't really pronounce her last name, but Lange ran a 2:40 marathon. What's really interesting about that is that sounds really, really fast, and it is for an Ironman, but the whole thing is this wasn't a full Ironman. This was a shortened bike, and when you take the end off the bike, it's the end of the bike that actually is so difficult. That's the part that sucks the most and drains you of the rest of your hydration, the rest of your calories, the rest of your energy. By the time you come off the bike, if you could get rid of a portion of a bike so that you could run faster, it'd be the last part. And so you get a result of somebody running a 2:40 marathon, and that's you've got to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And so we've got that, and then there was a female pro that beat all the men in the swim from what I read. And I think her last name's Brandon or something. But that's amazing. She swam like a 45 or 48 or something like that. I think it was a 48-minute swim. And this is in a lake, right? There's no current. So that's pretty astounding. And let's see. We had Starkey on recently, Andrew Starkowitz, and he had a bummer of a day. He managed to get a 14-minute lead after the bike. Even in a shortened bike, he got 14 minutes off the front. And then on about mile 7 or so, they say about a third of the way through the run, he had to drop out because of a pinched nerve. And I'm reading conflicting reports. It was either his glute, his butt cheek, or his foot. Either way, that sucks. And I was really rooting for him to do well. And also AJ Balco, another male pro, he flatted out on the bike. I think he said something like 12 miles in, picked up a nail in his tire, and it just ruined the tire. By the time he got a new wheel put on, then or a new tire on the wheel, then it had been 35 minutes. So I don't know if he actually finished the race or not, but I think it was pretty much over at that point in his mind, and so that sucks. Somebody did say that all the turns, they called this Termageddon because of the shortened bike course, went through all these neighborhoods with lots and lots and lots of turns. It ended up not being that bad. Somebody else said that there was a lot of flat tires, but you always got to take that. That's an opinion. You see a few people with flat tires, and you think there's lots of flat tires, and that could be just a coincidence. And oh my gosh, they had the most epic video footage of an implosion of running. Matt Hansen, who I think won last year, I know he's won Ironman Texas before, either last year or the year before, and I think he got a bike penalty, and so they made him sit out, for a few minutes. So now he's trying to catch back up, and he overdid it on his effort to catch back up, and he passed all the way up and got into third place on the run. And when I'd gone out training that morning, and when I turned on the video feed and then put it on the TV and was watching it, oh my gosh, they said, look at this guy, look at Matt Hansen, look at his run form. Oh my gosh, he's not doing well. This is not going to last long. And Matt Hansen's run form was just coming apart. He was running with his arms like kind of flying everywhere, and it's a really good lesson in what you look like when you're about to implode. And then just a few minutes later, yeah, he had to stop and start walking and take on more calories. I forgot what place he got. I think he may have gotten 10th. Anyway, he still finished, and that was about halfway through the marathon, maybe. And then, oh man, let's see. Jocelyn McCauley, who's been on this show before, she got 10th female pro, but that's after she collapsed just over half a mile from the finish line, sat there for 30 minutes. They were trying to give her medical aid, and she kept refusing. After 30 minutes of being a mess on the pavement, she got up and then ran the rest of the way to the finish line. And she posted the video of her running to the finish line on Facebook, and it is horrendous. It's one of those where you're like, it's one of those videos that either makes you really never want to do Ironman, or it makes you totally want to do an Ironman because of the struggle. It looks like she's running in slow motion, and she starts leaning over sideways, and then a whole bunch of people catch her when she comes across the finish line. I mean, she looked terrible, but it was also really amazing to see how hard you'll try for something when it's so close and you're almost done. And she still got 10th place, which is kick-ass. Let's see, and all these struggles on race day had to do with the heat. I went out myself, and like I said, I live really close to the Woodlands, and I went out that morning. And even I wasn't doing Ironman Texas this year. I'm doing Whistler instead, and kind of in honor of the race, I went out and trained in this crap anyway. And I did a 3-hour ride, just over 3 hours, and then just over an hour and a half brick run. I mean, I came inside and cooled. I didn't cool down, but I mean, like not on purpose. But I was getting my run stuff together, so I was only inside for like 10, 15 minutes. But a little break there. I went out and ran into stuff. I lost 5 pounds in just 4.5 hours of out training in that stuff. Yeah, it was, and I had all the water I wanted to drink. I was running with a Camelback on, and I biked with a Camelback on, and water, and all this hydration, and I still lost 5 pounds. And it was one of those runs where I came in, and my shorts looked like I had been swimming in them. They were absolutely, completely 100% soaked in water. And oh my God. And I had a headache the rest of the day. So the heat and humidity was brutal. And when I was watching the video footage of the race, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I was kind of watching all that stuff. All of a sudden, outside, it starts clouding up, is what we call it here. And then I hear thunder. What in the world's going on? I go out there and it starts raining and it starts lightning outside. And then I find out, because I'm kind of following on the on Slow Twitch and also on a Twitter feed, they started having a hailstorm and lightning on the race course, and they had to stop the race. Officially, the race got stopped, and it was stopped for so many minutes, like 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour. And people are going to have to correct me on this because I wasn't there. And honestly, it's such a puzzle from afar trying to figure out what happened and where everybody stands, because they sent everybody to the nearest timing mat, or they got their time from the nearest timing mat whenever they canceled the race, I think. And so it's just crazy, absolutely crazy. This was like the most unlucky year for this race, and it was cursed, is what we say. And it could happen to any race. It has happened to several races. I remember Tahoe was just, wildfires and all kinds of crazy stuff. And with the whole bike course thing, and then the flooding, and the swim issue, and all the turns, and just like on, and now lightning and hail cutting the race short. That's the kind of thing that ruins a race for registration, because nobody wants to do it the next year because it was so bad. Sometimes I did Wisconsin in 2007, and I think in 2006 they had just nightmarish weather the day of, and it's still sold out the next day. But with the bike course issues, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Ironman Texas next year, Will it be sell out soon? Will it even happen at all? I want to do it next year because the date will be earlier, which means there's a good chance it'll be cooler. So I don't know. But anyway, going out and training in that heat, specifically, and seeing what happens on a big bike run brick, really taught me, like, man, it's terrible out there in the heat. Okay, so that is Ironman Texas. Okay, and then we got some really crazy and sad news, where professional triathlete Sophie Goss, I don't really know how to say her last name, but she is Dutch, and she's on Team BMC. She's a triathlete. She was out on a run, just on a training run, and somebody jumped her and stabbed her in the back, in her lower back, while she was running, and stabbed her, it looks like, in the kidney, and she's in the hospital. Hopefully she'll be all right in the end, and I think they got the guy, but man, I have no words to say for something so terrible. And this kind of stuff happens to people all the time out running, so be careful, be safe out there, and especially if you're a woman, try to run in a place where there's lots of street lights. Try to be unpredictable. Try to never set up a pattern so that you run one day the same place, same time, over and over and over again. That's how people kind of start eyeballing you and think you're predictable, and then they can attack you because they know where you're going to be, and they can be prepared to jump you. And it happens to guys all the time too, and it's just really, really ugly. And so yeah, let's just move on from that. That's just not. And then Garmin introduced the FR735 XT. So this is a forerunner. 735. It is not the successor to the Garmin 920 triathlon watch, but it almost seems that way because it does have triathlon functions. It's a really all-around looks to be like a great watch. Now here's the difference between it and the 920, and the biggest thing is it has a battery life of 14 hours. So if you're into doing Ironmans, yeah, man, you need to be almost a pro. You need to be an elite or pro for this thing to work for you. It does have built-in heart rate monitoring with the green laser thing on the back of the watch, so you don't need a heart rate strap, which a lot of, especially women, enjoy because they don't have to wear the strap, which messes with their bra, messes with the strap, and all this stuff. But the heart rate reader on the back needs clear sight to your wrist, and which means that there is no mounting bracket for it yet for you to pop it off the watch and then put it on on your bike as a bike computer. That's a thing with the 920, is you can twist it off and then twist it on. You can twist it off the band and then twist it on to a bike mount, and that's really, really cool. But with the heart rate reader on the back, the mount would block the heart rate reader if it was on your wrist. It's weird. It's a complicated thing. You have to look at the 920 and see this thing, how it does that. So that's another sign that this is not the 920 successor. And also, it does not have a built-in barometric, that's it, altimeter that records your elevation really accurately, your elevation gain. And then what it does do is it records Di2 shifts. If you have electronic shifting and you're kind of interested in how much you shift and what you shifted to, then it does record that, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of swimming stuff, biking stuff, and it's got a whole lot of other stuff. And if you want to see a comparison chart, then check out my homie DC Rainmaker, dcrainmaker.com, and check out his review. And yeah, he does the best reviews in the business, and really spells it out on who it's for, what it does, and why you would maybe want it or maybe not, or want something else. Very unbiased. It's really cool. He's a huge service to the sports industry, because he tells the makers, this is not going to work, or this is what you should do, because he does it unbiased. It's really cool. And let's see, last two bits of news. There was a Paralympics swimmer that got disqualified from the Olympics. for having a tattoo of the Olympic rings. So I think it's in the UK. There's a rule you can't have tattoos showing. You have to cover them up, which is the dumbest thing ever. And so he got banned from the Olympics for having a tattoo of the Olympics. And I don't know. That was a story about a week ago, so I don't know what's happened with that. And then also there's a new twist shifters for electronic shifting, and I don't know if it works with SRAM or Di2 or both, but it's really cool. It makes you think. Really neat. You twist it to the right and it shifts up, twist it to the down, shifts down, twist it to the left and it shifts down, and then push it forward just a little bit, and then twist right to go up, and then left to go down in the big chain ring. First one was the small chain, the cassette in the back. And that is made by a company named Zerbel, Zirbel, and I saw it on Bike Radar, I think was the website. And it's kind of cool. I got started in mountain biking with a grip shift, and I think it's great stuff. And this is kind of like it. So, all right, that is enough of the news. Let's go ahead and get started with our interview with Matt Fitzgerald. I'm really, really excited to have him on. Like I said, we cover all kinds of different stuff, and delving into all the crazy nutrition stuff that I've run into, what makes people want to win and want to train harder, and also what drove him as an author is a really interesting twist in the conversation. And that's towards the end there. So I want you to definitely check it out. All right, let's get started with Mr. Fitzgerald. Here we go.
Welcome to the next level.
All right, let's try it again.
There we go. How you doing?
All right, how are you?
Good. So I've listened to your voice so much. It's fun to hear.
That's me.
I'm getting that reaction when people talk to me after being on the podcast all this time. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, you want to go ahead and start recording?
You bet.
All right. I am here with Matt Fitzgerald. How's it going?
Doing well, thanks.
And where are you right now?
I am in California, Central Valley.
Central Valley. And you are the author of a whole lot of books that a lot of people in triathlon know a lot about. So Iron War, Racing Weight, and one of my favorites is Diet Cults. And then also you've just come out with, let's see, How Bad Do You Want It? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I listened to that, and then I went back and listened to Diet Cults because it's my favorite.
Very cool.
How Bad Do You Want It? Actually, I'm going to have to go back in my memory a few days to remember some of that stuff. But I took some good notes with lots of cool stuff to ask you about it. And how long has How Bad Do You Want It been out?
I think the official publication date was November 1st last year. Okay. So several months now.
Yeah. So how are you being received with it? Are people really enjoying it, or what are you hearing back?
Yeah, it's been really well received. I mean, it's selling well. The publisher tells me, and I'm just getting a lot of positive feedback on it, which is great because you never really know. And especially this book, the format's a little unusual. I mean, there's not a heck of a lot out there to compare it to. So, I had my fingers crossed and hoped that people would like it and get something out of it. And fortunately, that appears to be the case.
Yeah, and what I did was I listened to it on Audible, which is I really suggest it for athletes, people that do endurance sports, is to get an Audible account, and you can listen to so many books while you're exercising, which is really handy. So it makes the treadmill or the bike or whatever you're doing like way more usable. And so the with How Bad Do You Want It, I thought that was such an interesting thing. Well, first off, you read that in your own voice.
Yes.
As opposed to Diet Cult. So what led to that decision?
It was just that, the previous books I've done for which the audio rights were sold, the publisher just decided they wanted to hire an actor.
Uh-huh.
And for this one, they asked me to do it. I was naive and therefore willing. I say that because it's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's way harder than you would think. I mean, I'm a professional writer, so I'm like, well, how hard can it be to read, my own book? But there's a huge difference I discovered between reading competently and reading perfectly. And when you're reading, for an audiobook, every sentence has to be perfect. And I didn't really realize this until I got into it. My sentences tend to be fairly long with a lot of clauses.
Right.
And it was tough to get more than, honestly, 3 or 4 sentences out without some kind of stumble. And then, of course, it gets in your head. You start to, tense up and make more mistakes. And it was rough. I'm telling you, by the end of each, it was pretty much four 4-hour recording sessions. And I had to go back to tidy some things up. But by the end of each of those sessions, I mean, I was exhausted, mentally and physically wrecked at the end of each day. Yeah.
So, do you hydrate with Gatorade?
It's kind of funny because, it was sort of like a sprint marathon where it's like, it's 4 hours and I had to drive a long way to get to the studio. So, we didn't want to have to book another session. So I would just sit down after a long drive, and I wouldn't move for 4 hours. So that was part of it too, because I would miss lunch, so I would be bonking by the end of it.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Well, so you went to a place that recorded it, and did you have somebody say like, "Hey, say that part again," or who did the editing? There was a very good and very patient engineer in the booth who, just listened to every word I spoke, and if I bumbled a word, or a lot of times I would just insert a different word. You just read right over it, and you just put some synonym in place. It's what the word you expect. And he would say, that's not what it says. Not what it says. Say it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed that book. How Bad Do You Want It? Because there were so many examples that I could draw parallels to in my own life. And I very much believe in the message is that motivation, you painted a lot of different stories of different ways people get motivated. And I've experienced many of them myself, different ways. 2 I wanted to tell you was, when I was on swim team growing up, there's a dynamic where a lot of swim teams they put the fastest swimmers in lane 1 or lane 8, right? Like all the way to one side. And then the next fastest group of swimmers of 2 to 6 people, they put in the next lane over. Yep. And then on down until you get to the, however many lanes you take up, the slowest ones are in the farthest lane away. And then that would just drive me crazy that there was somebody in a lane, just one lane over, that was faster than me. Mm-hmm. And but what's also really cool is because you're swimming pretty much the same stuff. Everybody's doing, freestyle, 200s or something like that. And you can see the person next to you and what they're doing to be faster than you.
Yep.
And so you can, what they call ape somebody until you're as fast as they are. And that was really, really good. So the competition aspect of being just the perfect amount of competition.
Yes.
Not too much, not too little, but just the perfect amount. And then also another factor that you mentioned in the book was you mentioned that athletes that were tested, if they were male and there was a female tester that was supervising, that they would actually try harder and probably to impress her. And then same, I guess vice versa for girls trying to impress a guy or whatever. And the other thing on swim team that was really interesting is there was girls on swim team, and we're in high school, and so one thing that really motivated me to keep trying harder was to impress the girls.
Yep.
And I moved right up the ranks really quickly.
It's a powerful incentive.
Yeah. And then another thing is being told you can't do something.
Yes.
Is such a motivator, and it didn't have to do with sports, but I was told I was failing my freshman year, at the end of my freshman year at Texas A&M, and they said, based on your grades versus your SAT score, if you got a decent SAT score, but then bad grades, that means that you're smart, but you're lazy. And
yes.
I guess they can tell that there's a personality trait where you're just not applying yourself, and you're probably not going to apply yourself. They said you have less than a 1% chance of ever graduating from A&M, and we have the statistics to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And that pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I not only graduated, but I stayed for grad school. And then I finished grad school with almost a 4.0, and then I went and found that counselor that told me that.
I love it.
And and then told them, I graduated twice from your stupid school.
You have the mind of a champion.
Yeah. And, and I think, I don't remember now because that was forever ago, but I think in his or her mind, I think it was a guy, they said, they were probably thinking, yeah, it worked.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So what other examples from the book are you seeing come into play right now, or what are you hearing from people about their own stories about this kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm getting a feedback of a certain kind from athletes who they'll do a race shortly after reading the book or listening to it, mm-hmm. and they will simply tell me that that phrase, "How bad you want it," was kind of a mantra for the race. And I even had athletes write it on their body, or I had one cyclist turned it into an acronym, HBDWY, and put it on the top tube of his bike. So he was looking at that acronym while he was racing. Uh-huh. So it's funny, because within the book I talk about all these coping skills that are scientifically proven to enhance endurance performance, and that the most successful athletes in the real world use. But it seems like that the book itself, regardless of what's in it, but just the book is becoming like a performance enhancing tool for mm-hmm. some athletes who they remember the book, or they think about the book while they're racing.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a talisman that you can, you can refer to and say, I can draw from something extra, and this is like a manual on how the human mind works, it's like a selection. It's almost like a menu of what actually motivates people. It's pretty neat. Then I want to jump over to Diet Cults, because this is one of my favorite books. And when this came out, I needed this book more than anything. And uh-huh. I want to thank you for publishing this book.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, because I was doing raw vegan at the time, and I was tired, and low energy, and just feeling like crap. And there's this downward spiral that people get into, where if something's not working, then they're told that they're just not doing it right, and they need to do it more. You're not raw vegan enough, mm-hmm. or how about you eliminate more of this mm-hmm. Thing? And it just I think right around the same time was the term orthorexia that started coming out, where people started hearing mm-hmm. that. And can you describe to people what that is?
Yeah, so orthorexia is basically just an obsession with healthy eating. So however you as an individual may define it, mm-hmm. for a vegan it may be one thing, for a paleo person another. But it's just where fear of eating right and the need, fear of eating wrong and the need to eat right just comes to dominate your life.
Yeah, and a really good example would be eating vegan, and then you start getting like a numb tongue and a numb mouth and some nerve problems, and you go to the doctor and they say you have a B12 deficiency, you need to eat some meat. And then the raw vegan person will say, oh, well, I need to find B12 from something else and not from meat. Or, you know, like their obsession with being healthy is actually making them sick.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And also, it leads to social problems too. That's why I use the word diet cults, because that's what it comes to be like. You start preaching to other people, and alienating them, and there are fewer and fewer people you can abide, because you only want to be around fellow travelers on whatever diet it is you're on. You just kind of self-ostracize.
All right, let's take a break from the show and let's do a sponsor spot for Salt Stick. Okay, so when I did the Grand Fondo 100-miler, what was that, a few weeks ago, I got first place and I couldn't believe it. And the reason I got first place is because my legs were failing me, and then I popped some Salt Stick. Salt Stick makes the capsules and salt and electrolytes that you can put into your water and then make it icky sticky, so that your water doesn't just run through you and take everything else with it. If your water doesn't have enough electrolytes and salt in there, then it doesn't really do much. In fact, it can actually be bad for you to not have enough electrolytes in it. Hyponatremia. Google it. It's terrible stuff. So you need something added to your water to make sure that you get enough of your electrolytes in. And Salt Stick is the stuff that you want. They reached out to us, and that way you know that they actually really are fans of ZenTri, so we ought to pay them back and give them a visit. You can go check them out at shopsaltstick.com, and you can get 25% off your order with discount code ZenTri25. Unfortunately, only in the United States for now. Even though this is a global podcast, we need to talk to Salt Stick and say, hey, this is a worldwide audience. Everybody needs salt. But for right now, it's in the United States only, and you get 25% off your order using discount code ZenTri25, shopsaltstick.com. And let me give you a little story about how well this stuff works. I had my little miracle bottle of, mixed up fuel and salt added to it, and some caffeine off the back of my bike at the latest race that I did, 100-mile Grand Fondo, and it promptly fell off at mile 1. But I didn't know it until mile 20, so I couldn't go back and get it. And I started getting cramps in my legs because I was not taking in any salt or electrolytes. And it started to work against me. And oh wait, there goes a cyclist. I see him right now while I'm recording this. Go, dude, go, you got it. He's probably using Salt Sticks. Anyway, but you know what I did have? I had the Salt Stick dispenser mounted to my aero bars, and it was super easy. I was like looking around, like there's much to look around at. I was like, oh crap, what do I do, man? I'm starting to get cramps in my legs, and what's the solution? And then from half Ironman Galveston, they call it Texas 70.3, I had a Salt Stick dispenser still velcroed to my aero bars, and it had Salt Stick capsules in it, and it was super cool. So I just twisted it, and out came a Salt Stick capsule, and I popped it in my fuel hole, and then boom, it was like a miracle. The cramps had gone away in my legs, and I was able to keep on cruising. And about an hour later, I felt the cramps kind of coming back a little bit, so I popped another capsule, and then boom, they went away, and then I crossed the finish line in first place, and it would not have been possible without some Salt Stick capsules. You know what the coolest thing about Salt Stick stuff is that you can actually pop the capsules open, so you can drop the contents into your water and mix it up, or you can swallow it whole, or you can throw it in your fuel hole and then chew it up and then you've got some salt in your mouth, and that triggers some nerve relaxation and lets your quads kind of relax a little bit wherever your cramps are. It really does work. It's pretty cool. So it's awesome stuff, and I'd like to thank Salt Stick for being on the show. And yeah, that's it. Go check them out. Shopsaltstick.com. Like I said, 25% off. Get that dispenser, man. That thing is crazy usable. All right. Oh, and by the way, I got a message from somebody, Andrew M848, MMM848 at something on Twitter. And he said, hey, man, your commercials are getting old, man. And I said, well, send me some and I'll play them. You make a commercial and I'll play it. But honestly, my strategy is to replay commercials, a few times and then make new ones. And that works, because it's efficient to, replay the same thing if I can. But I would much rather play audio content coming from listeners. So if you have a commercial that you'd like to do for Amrita bars, or Living Fuel, or Salt Stick, and listen to this show and listen to the stuff I say, like the discount codes and all that stuff, and you say them with your own story about how you use them, or try to talk like me, or be silly and impersonate somebody. Just no copyrighted music, and then we can play it in the show, and it'll all be cool. How about that? Commercials made by the listeners. Be really funny. So send them to me at texafornia@gmail.com, and just an MP3, and I can drop it in the next show. And I know Andrew's actually working on one, so we'll see what he comes up with. Come on, Andrew, we're waiting on you now. Come on. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the show. Out, bang. Yeah, it was really interesting, the whole diet cult issue. One thing I don't know if you really focused on in the book or not, or how much, was that they tend to have a leader. Yep. So you were talking about Dan McDonald, Life Regenerator, for example, and it's almost like, hey, this one person is succeeding at this, so let's follow him, right, or her, because they look like they got their act together and they're succeeding. But you're only seeing one facet of that person's life at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And how many different diet cults have you seen or experienced, or what are some of the big ones that you've seen?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to define it, a diet cult is any rule-based way of eating that presents itself as the best way to eat or the only good way to eat. So you can sort of, given that definition, you can look around and decide for yourself. I mean, almost any diet that even has a name fits that definition. That defining real characteristic is that it's, the phrase I keep using in the book is the one true way.
Right.
So, any diet that whose advocates presented as the one true way, or just clearly better than all others, like you'd be a fool not to be on this diet, that type of thing. That by my definition is a diet cult. So, even something like the most popular diet at any given time. The Atkins diet was, then the South Beach diet kind of took over, and
right.
Who knows what came after that? Paleo is huge now, gluten-free, on and on it goes. The most extreme one I came across, and I don't think I mentioned this in the book, is the breatharian diet.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so breatharians believe that all food is bad for you.
Yeah,
and I'm not joking.
Yeah. There's not many of them because they don't live very long.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, they kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I remember when I heard about the high fat, like ketosis kind of stuff. I think people are looking. Our diets in modern society is so easy to eat poorly that we're looking for an easy solution, right? So we oversimplify things, and it's like, oh, just high fat, that's it, and low carb. Sounds simple. I can do that. And then at one point, I went out on a bike ride, and a 3-hour bike ride here in Texas. It's really hot in the summer. And then the next day, I saw spots in my vision, like really bad. And I went to the eye doctor, and he said, you're so dehydrated that the fluid inside your corneas is actually picked up. It's kind of condensed and like picked up the little specks. I was seeing floaters. You know what you ever see one of those in your vision?
Yep.
Yeah, if you're really dehydrated, you see lots of those. And the problem was let's say you're drinking like Gatorade or something like that, you're fueling with carbs. Well, usually carbs have a lot of water content with it.
Yep.
And when you start veering away from that, well, you start your body just loses just tons of hydration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glycogen is stored with water, so if you glycogen deplete, you dehydrate.
Yeah, and so what are you on the high fat, the fat optimization stuff? What do you make of? There's one aspect of it that I find really interesting, and that I wish I could make use of, and it's when people change their diet and then they go and do the treadmill test or whatever, and it shows that they're burning a much higher percentage of body fat than they used to before, and not so carb dependent to go, to work out or to race or whatever. And I think that's so fascinating, and it seems from what I'm seeing that it's a process that's doable and achievable and useful. But what do you probably know a lot more about this, or I think you would, but what are you seeing in this, and is it real, or what do you think?
Yeah, there's a few things I'd say about that. One is that, to my knowledge, races do not award medals or other prizes to most fat burning.
Yeah.
It's the order in which you get to the finish line that counts. So people make that mistake all the time of confusing physiological mechanisms with performance outcomes. Mm-hmm. There's only one thing that matters as far as I'm concerned, and it's performance. And you'll see this all the time, where a study will show that a certain intervention affects a given physiological mechanism, and you would think that would enhance performance. But the studies that look at the effects of increasing fat burning capacity on performance generally find that it actually decreases performance in anything that's short or relatively short, and then up at the longer distances, it's either a wash or maybe it's slightly beneficial. But I think I think increasing your fat burning capacity is great as long as it doesn't come at the cost of carbohydrate burning capacity. And it depends somewhat. I mean, a 70% fat diet is really extreme, and there are all kinds of problems with that. It's just what people are doing is they're taking one piece of the physiological puzzle for endurance performance and deciding that's the only piece that matters. And so when you go in all in for just one piece, you can have all kinds of intended consequences. So, in my work as a sports nutritionist, I have, just a cottage industry of helping athletes who've crashed and burned on high fat diets.
Yeah.
The good news is that I think you can get the benefits of a high fat diet without actually going on one, and just by doing carb fasted workouts periodically. And it's interesting. I've been talking for a while, so I can either wrap this up with the last thing I was going to say, or you can interject.
No. The more you talk, the better. That people hear me on the podcast all day long. They're tired. I do like 3-hour shows, and they're like, "Thank God it's over."
So because this is an interesting area, and there's a lot of ferment, in in research and in elite athletes experimenting with different practices. And so I recently ran my first ultra marathon, a 50-mile race.
I wanted to ask you a lot about that. Yeah.
So I took the opportunity to do a little bit of my own experimentation, and I wasn't going to go on a high-fat diet because I just think it's a bad idea. I care about how I perform, and that's not a risk I want to take. But what I did experiment with some carb fasted workouts, right. And I just focused on performance, just like every piece of the puzzle mattered to me. And so when I got a few weeks out from my 50-miler, I did my longest carb fasted workout, which was actually an official marathon. I went up to Napa here in California in wine country, and I ran the Napa Valley Marathon. And so I had a high carb dinner 12 hours before the start of the race. And that was the last, when I took my last bite of pasta, that was the last gram of carbohydrate I consumed until after I finished the race. And not just the race itself, but actually a couple extra miles because I ran right through the finish line and back to my hotel. So my breakfast was just pure fat and protein. Mm-hmm. And during the race, I consumed nothing but water. And I didn't really care about my performance. The idea was just to, do a very long workout in the context of a race in a glycogen depleted or glycogen compromised state. Right. So I was built up to this, and I was curious to see how's this going to go. And it turned out I felt fantastic, absolutely great. And I had a really hard time just holding myself back. And I ended up running a 3:05 marathon. The second half was 1:29, and I was still not tired at the finish. And again, this is zero carbs for 12 hours, 15 hours at this point. And so obviously I've got to be fat adapted, right? Or something. But, my conclusion is I'm just fit. You know what I mean? Like there was absolutely no need for me to go on, just this ridiculous 70% fat diet in order to achieve that. I was just fit, and I did selected carb fasted workouts. And I can assure you the average, high fat, low carb diet cult member would break his arm patting himself on the back for doing what I did, without having to, tie myself in knots the way they do with their diet. So that's kind of my personal example.
Yeah. So it didn't make you sit there and go, oh, I need to switch over to high fat, low carb, right? It didn't rock your world. It was just, and make you rethink everything. It was just something that, just the way you've been training up until then.
Yeah. I mean, my normal diet is high carb. So the credit goes to a high carb diet. High carb diet combined with, because that was just one day of restricting carbs. And I mean, nobody thinks that's what you should do. I mean, it's, guys, right? I mean, on race day, even the high fat people go high carb. And in point of fact, I ran a marathon with normal carb fueling 2 weeks later and ran 14 minutes faster. And again, it wasn't an all-out effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had, well, by the way, that's the Becoming Ultra podcast, which you've been on several times now, I think.
Yeah.
And I listened to that, and I really enjoyed that. That was really cool that you did that. And people got to listen to your first ultra marathon story about going off course. We won't go into that here. But that goes back to how bad do you want it, right? And like your motivation of why you were doing the race and all that stuff. What drives you to finish.
Yep.
But I've had Rob Gray on recently, and he's a guy that talks more about metabolic flexibility is what he likes to call it. And he's actually got the testing cart, and he won Ultraman Florida, but by not doing high fat, low carb, but by strategically doing workouts to enhance his ability to go that way when he needed to. And I thought that's a really fascinating interview. People want to go back and listen to that. But he said something that I thought was really interesting, because he does a testing service for anybody, and I said, what happens when you test pros? Because we were talking about age groupers, right? And he said that pros tend to keep burning the same ratio of fat and carbs as they increase speed. You know, there's this whole thing like where you reach a breaking point and then you're burning predominantly carbs.
Yeah.
Only. And he said that, and I guess it's the way they train, or, you know, I mean, or maybe that's why they're pros. It's because they are able to keep burning more body fat as they increase speed. It doesn't taper off anywhere near as drastically as an age grouper. So do you have any thoughts on that, like how pros are built differently, or?
Yeah, I think that's sort of what I was getting at when I said you just have to be fit. I mean, that's that's like when you put it under the microscope, you know, is that you're good at everything. I mean, what people often forget, they lose sight of, is that the winner of any given race is the one who burnt the most energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's how you go faster. You burn more total energy. Who cares where it comes from?
Right.
You know, and you don't even have to know. I mean, you don't even have to look under the hood. It's nice. You know, don't get me wrong. I think physiology is neat, but it's performance. Whatever gets you there. And yeah, so, you know, it's interesting and enlightening, not at all surprising.
So did you see the it's not the Daily Show. Is it the Daily Show where they did an expose on scientific studies?
No.
And about how ridiculous they are? I got to send you the link to it because you will crack up. And it's about how you can p-hack is what it's called, and pretty much get any results you want from a scientific study.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about this.
Oh, it's so good. It's like a 20-minute long video where he just goes on a rant and about and giving just tons and tons of examples that you can prove chocolate's good for you. You can prove chocolate's bad for you. You know, you can prove this, you can prove that. And it's the need to publish, and it's the need to publish new stuff that gets you funding. So they will take just boring results that don't say anything and then just rejigger the statistics until you find something that's useful, and then they publish it, and then the masses, glom on to the one little bit. And I think you said it in one of your books. They take something that people tend to take something and blow it out of proportion.
Yeah,
is a good way to put it.
Yeah, and this is a big part of the reason. Sorry to interrupt, but this is a big part of the reason that all of the advice that I give on training and nutrition and the mental side of endurance sports is based as much on real world best practices as it is on science. You know, I very seldom give advice that is based only on science and is not already used to good effect by the most successful athletes, precisely for the reason you just articulated. Because you think about it, sports like distance running and cycling, they've existed in their modern form for going on 150 years now. And at the highest level of competition, there's a lot at stake. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of time for athletes to have tried just about everything, in the crucible of elite competition. So it's just this tremendous process of natural selection, right? Survival of the fittest, methods that work really well, even if you have no idea why why they work or don't. It doesn't matter. Just like an athlete wins, and then the losers start to emulate whatever that athlete does, and then an even better athlete comes along who trains in a different way or eats in a different way or whatever, and you've got this constant evolution. So that come 2016, pretty much the most successful athletes, drugs notwithstanding, are pretty much doing everything right.
All right, let's take a break from the show and talk about livingfuel.com. Whew, man. You know what the latest thing I've been doing with Living Fuel is they have an amino acid powder. And if you add amino acids, protein, to your carbs, It's one of the strategies for going lower carb, higher fat, kind of metabolism efficiency kind of thing. It slows down the carbs, and then it gets you in some protein that's really good for you. Anyway, Living Fuel has some really high quality amino acids. So when I finished my bike ride this morning, I made a bottle of like half strength Gatorade. That way it's not too sugary. And then some of those amino acids from Living Fuel. It's really cool. But I've got a message for Living Fuel, by the way. I am out of the green smoothie. That's my favorite one. And then there's like a berry smoothie powdered mix. It's got like chia seeds and all kinds of cool stuff in it. And also they have these really cool snack bars and like these coconut packets of chia seeds and coconut stuff. I am out. I don't know what to do with myself. I wander around my kitchen and my house like lost. I bump in the walls. I fall down. I'm like, oh my God, I need more Living Fuel. So if I was to go get some, I would go. Oh, by the way, they're also like super vegetarian, clean, and vegan and stuff like that. But anyway, you can go to livingfuel.com and order their stuff. They have a person that works there that is big into ZenTri, so I'd like to give them a shout out. They got a really cool backstory too. So yeah, go check them out, livingfuel.com, and show them some love. And let's go ahead and get back to the show. Yeah, it's the person that does the most stuff correctly, and probably the thing is, I forgot what it's called, but it's survivorship bias, I guess, is one way to put it. But if somebody does something that's different, well, it stands out, and then you notice it, and then you think, well, that's what I need to do to have success. But all the people that failed at it, you never hear from them.
Right.
And you know what? That reminds me, when you said, I had a little trouble hearing you earlier. Was it you said you have made yourself a little cottage industry by helping people that have wrecked their metabolism?
Yeah, I just, I hear from these athletes all the time.
Yeah, and I also heard that, gosh, I think it was either Joe Filiol or I don't know if he's a coach in charge of QT2 systems, but another like Uber coach was saying, you wouldn't believe the number of people that I have to pull back from the brink of just destroying all their hormones and their thyroid and everything from doing crazy diets and then trying to exercise on them. But you never hear from those people, right? Because they don't have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because they didn't succeed, but you hear this one person that did well at it for right now, and then then they get the spotlight. And you just don't ever see it. So,
but getting back to the point I was making about trial and error in elite endurance sports, so there's a book I'm working on now called The Endurance Diet, where I talk about all this stuff. And you can go back into the past when performance standards were much lower. So that often it wasn't actually the athlete who was doing everything right who won. It was simply the most talented athlete who won.
Right.
Sometimes despite doing things wrong. And I give examples of people who would copycat bad practices. Just because someone with just a higher level of natural talent had won the Olympics or whatever.
Mark Spence's mustache.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's one example.
That's a great one.
But that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, way too much is made of individuality. I mean, yes, we're all different, but we're also all human, and pretty much the same stuff, in terms of diet and training works for everyone. And so at this point, if you're, again, I'm talking about elite athletes. If you want to, succeed in elite athletics, you darn well better train and eat pretty much the way they all do, or because you're not going to get by on having more talent.
Yeah, for sure. Because now the talent pool is so big.
Yeah.
When I went to a small high school, I was the best swimmer, and then in the whole area, out of several high schools. And then I moved back to Houston, and I was the second fastest swimmer on just my team.
Uh-huh.
Because now we're competing against just a huge talent pool.
Right.
And you got all these kids in the area that are, growing up on swim teams and are doing it right. Good coaching and training and such. Yeah. And it's harder to stand out. So then it did come down to doing everything right and hoping that somebody else didn't do it right.
Yep.
On race day. So we got a question from Richard Lane, who did you see his Twitter handle? Rub-a-dub.
Nice.
And anyway, he said he's interested to hear if you stand by the diet recommendations, especially carbs, and I'm guessing you did after what we've been talking about, in racing weight.
Yeah. So actually, the answer is no, but maybe not for the reason that.
The racing weight. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So in there, I give sort of like recommended carbohydrate intake targets, and I really try to make it, as just simple and quantitative. So if you weigh X and you train at Y volume, you need Z carbs. Mm-hmm. And that was, those bit recommendations were based on just available research, and pretty much showing that at elite training levels, elite volumes of training, pretty much everyone is who's succeeding at that level is consuming 10 grams per kilogram of carbohydrate daily, which is a ton of carbs. Yeah. And there's also research showing that in order to properly carbohydrate load for marathons and such, you need to get up pretty close to that level too. So that seemed to be kind of the ceiling, the maximally beneficial amount of carbohydrate, but that people who are training less or not carbo loading for an extreme endurance test don't need as much. So I just tried to create a continuum where the lowest level of carbohydrate intake was just pretty much the population normal, and that's appropriate for people who are, just casual 5K hobby joggers or whatever. Yeah. And so it goes up in increments from there. There are two problems with that, that I discovered. One is that the numbers were sort of based on the distances that elite athletes cover. So they're all duration based. For example, if you train 20 hours a week, you need this much carbohydrate. The trouble is those numbers were based on the distances that elite athletes cover in that amount of time. But if you're much slower than an elite, mm-hmm. you're actually not covering nearly as much distance. And that is really what should determine your carbohydrate needs. So what I started to find is that the targets weren't appropriate for slower athletes. But the other thing I've also found is that people are just more, adaptable than all that, and just it's clear that, and I've even seen this in my own experience, that as long as what matters the most is A, that you're eating enough, and B, that your diet is just very high in overall quality. So based on unprocessed foods, not a lot of processed foods. Mm-hmm. If you're doing those two things, what I found is that macronutrient ratios just aren't an issue. People who are eating enough and eating high quality, they're not, failing to recover or, stagnating in their fitness development due to not getting enough carbs. It just doesn't happen. So I'm really just moving away from telling people to aim for carbohydrate targets, period, unless they get to a situation where they need to troubleshoot. It's like, okay, all of a sudden I am recovering poorly or, bonking in workouts that I used to do just fine in. So that's, it's not that the recommendations are like, I've decided that, that's way too much carbohydrate. No, I mean, it's that you don't necessarily have to have that much carbohydrate. And it only makes sense if A, again, you're doing what really matters, which is A, eating enough, and B, maintaining very high diet quality.
Yeah. On the speed, the time versus distance issue, I have some experience with that because I went and got tested a long time ago, and they said you burn about 100 calories per mile, maybe 110, based on your efficiency and how big you are and stuff like that. And they, and like you said, an elite athlete going out for a run, a 20-mile run for them is a completely different time range than for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. But the amount of calories would be the same pretty much. If I'm going to burn 100 calories per mile, whether I run it fast or whether I run it slow, that's the amount of kilojoules, it takes to move my body that far.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then, I wanted to mention earlier, I forgot, when I did the raw vegan thing for a while, and then I bounced over to pretty much the opposite, high fat, low carb, and was trying to figure that out. I right around that same time, after been doing that a while, I developed vitiligo, which is an autoimmune disease where your body starts killing off melanin in your. I think it's melanin, but it's it's your skin color.
Yep.
And that looking back, it was my body kind of revolting against my hormones, like revolting against whatever was going on. I think it was saying, if you're not going to slow yourself down from whatever the hell you're doing, I'm going to start doing it for you.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out, like where this came from and what started it. And they don't really know. Vitiligo can be caused by so many different things, but it's basically stress-based. And autoimmune, and the body just starts attacking itself. And then I went back. I quit doing the high-fat, low-carb so much, and went to the skin doctor a year later, and he said, what's really weird is just looking at you in the waiting room, I would never think that you had this. It's gone, pretty much gone. So yeah, I wanted to put that in your grab bag of weird things that happen when with people's bodies and hormones out there on these crazy diets that they do.
Yeah, there are a lot of weird ones. Like the ones that pretty much everyone has are the fatigue and the poor performance. But you do hear some kind of bizarre out there. Yeah,
and who knows if that was actually what it was, but
right. Yeah.
But you start connecting dots and trying to figure things out. But I had some questions for you about your process of writing a book.
Sure.
How do you like collect notes on something, and do you like have a time per day where you sit down and write so many words or something like that, or do you do it totally different and just capture ideas as they come to you, or what?
Well, it's kind of a two-phase process, I guess. The first I would label inspiration and gestation, and that's just from out of nowhere. I mean, you have no control over these, the process of inspiration. Things are just given to you, and at some point I'll just get an idea, and it may be sort of inchoate for a while, but I'll feel like there's something there, and I'll just kind of ruminate on it. I'll think about it. I may read in relevant subject areas to try and just kind of give it shape. But I won't rush it. I'll just give it time. I'm always working on something else anyway. So if I have an idea that I'm kind of excited about, I'll just let it do its own thing. And then typically, I'll get to a point where the idea is full-fledged and it's basically a book concept and it's ready. I'm ready to start actually working on it. And then that's when I'll transition to phase 2, which is research and composition. And I think there are a lot of writers that those are actually 2 phases, so it's a 3-phase process. They'll go from inspiration and gestation to research and then writing. But for whatever reason, just that's the kind of creativity I have. I don't feel like I'm thinking things through, or I even know what I'm talking about unless I'm writing. Mm-hmm. I found this again and again where I think I've just got the coolest idea, and then I'll try and put it on paper, and I'll realize that
it's not there.
Yeah, it's a joke. I haven't really thought it through. There's all kinds of holes in it, and it's easy to rebut and just take apart. But that process is valuable because once I've gone through it, then it's actually more of a grown up idea. So I'll do that. Basically, I start writing before I'm ready, is what I'm saying. So instead of doing a whole bunch of research and boning up so I know what I'm talking about and then starting the writing process, I mix them together. I'm researching while I'm writing, which leads to the necessity for a lot of rewriting, which can be frustrating. But I've been at this for a long time, and it's simply my method.
All right, let's take a break and let's talk about Amrita bars. I freaking love Amrita bars. Longtime sponsor. I've actually been trail running with their owner, and they have a good backstory as well. They were making nutrition-friendly, non-allergenic, like healthy, good food for their kid, and because he had some bad allergies, and they were trying to figure out something that was really happy and healthy for him. And the dad is a cyclist, and he's like, well, let's make it so that you can also eat it while on the bike and before workouts, during workouts, and such. And they came up with Amrita bars. And Amrita means nectar of the gods. From India is where the owner's from. So it's really cool ingredient list with lots of really neat stuff. And let me tell you another story. The other day I went for a workout and I went for a run and I ate most of a bar before the run. And I thought that I had eaten a squid that it was fighting a sperm whale at the same time and put that in my guts. And I mean, it was a nightmare. And then days before and also days after, I've also eaten Amrita bars before a workout, and it's smooth. It doesn't hurt your stomach at all. It's so much better. And they come in a really easy to handle wrapper. You can open the end of it and then take just a bite and then put the wrapper back into your jogging shorts or back into your cycling jersey or on the side of the pool. And they're actually really easy to handle, and you can kind of squeeze out more bar as you go along. And let's see, what else do they have? They reduces inflammation because it's low in allergens. It doesn't freeze. If you're going on bike rides and such or runs in really cold weather, they won't get hard. There's always nice and chewy. Great for early morning rides. That's exactly my point, is you can get up and eat half or all of an Amrita bar, as much as you want, and then jog out the door, and your stomach will feel great. It's really, really cool. And let's see, what else do they have? We have a discount code. Well, there's a club. You get 20% off. But I want you to try discount code ZEN2016 at amritahealthfoods.com. And yeah, Zen2016. It's really good stuff, man. It's great fuel for those bike rides, easy to digest, but has great, easy to digest fats, so you can actually carry less for longer rides. Yeah, 1 bar. Oh man, I got an 18-wheeler pulling up next to me. This is going to be in a commercial for like 3 episodes. And there's a UPS truck. Oh my God. Okay, they're gone. Let's get back to it. I need those commercials from you people where you're going to record your own. I know there's lots of you out there that really enjoy Amrita bars. And also, so make your ads and send them in. Again, textsophornia@gmail.com. If you think you can make a better ad than this, I'd like to hear it. And then I'd like to play it. And they have really cool gear. One of my favorite kits to wear, and I wear it in a lot of races. Oh, by the way, I need to tell Amrita, I tore my jersey in a crash, and I need to get another one. And I think I wore the Amrita socks to work the other day, cycling socks, and I wear them for cycling and running. Really high quality stuff. Amrita jerseys. They got a triathlon kit, cycling kit, and it's a really cool logo. It's black with kind of a rainbow colored like lotus leaf, and it's just really, really cool looking stuff. And people are always, they look at it and they go, Amrita, and then they look at me and I'm like, yeah, and they say, what is that? And I go, it's awesome, and you need to eat it. Lots of it. All right, so go check out amritahealthfoods.com, and yeah, let's go ahead and get back to the episode. Here we go. Yeah. So do you do this for articles too? Like when you do articles and books, the same process pretty much?
Much less so for articles. They're just completely different animals.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, like, I love writing books. I love long form. I like writing articles. So I invest much more of myself into the longer projects.
So back to how bad do you want it? Like for book writing, I mean, that's obviously something that drives you. Something drives you to write books. So what do you think it is? What are you trying to prove to somebody? Who are you writing to?
Well, part of it is there's a romance to book writing that I get because my father wrote books when I was growing up.
Okay. There you go.
So I just thought that was, I'm serious, from the time I was 9 or 10 years old, I was trying to get my first book published when I was a preteen. So it was a lifelong dream. I self-published a book that we're not going to get into when I was fresh out of college.
Yeah.
My first real book was published, or I got the contract for it when I was 30. So, it took a long time to get to that point. And then once I got to that point, that's all I wanted to do. And I also, like my father, I'm an idea factory. So I've always got things that I want to say. And that's a big part of it. Like, there's this sense of urgency, like, the world needs to know. So, whatever I was trying to do with How Bad You Want It, I felt like I can't possibly die before I finish this book, because it is just the most important thing for me and all of humanity that I finish this and get it out there. It's like, that's a big part of it too. And it's completely or mostly irrational. It's just,
you know what? Your books are kind of that theme, right? It's things people should really know. Yes. And that's why, I describe your books as like really pragmatic, useful information that dispels a lot of crap that's going on out there and maybe that could help people.
Yes.
So what kind of books did your dad write?
Novels, as a matter of fact. And I can assure you, if I wrote a novel, it would be atrociously bad. I am a completely different kind of writer. I love narrative. Yeah. Right now, I'm writing a book for this guy, the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, who claim to fame is doing 50 iron distance triathlons in 50 states in 50 days last summer. And it's just an incredible story. It's really just a memoir. And I'm having a blast. So I'm ghostwriting. I'm writing it as him. Yeah. And it's just, it is so much fun. But I don't have to make up the story. You know what I mean? It's just there. Yeah. I just have to get it out of him. So I love narrative writing. Obviously, How Bad You Want It is kind of narrative based. It mixes or sort of delivers science and practical advice through narrative. But again, those aren't made up stories; they're real ones. So I enjoy that. But yeah, my dad, his first novel was called Chocolate Charlie, and actually the TV show Different Strokes from the 70s or 80s or whatever it was loosely based on it. So really? It's about a white guy who adopts a little black boy. In this case, in the novel, it was just one, not two. But yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I'm back to back to How Bad Do You Want It, and the whole experience with what motivates people. There was a bit in that book where you talk about some athletes just kind of want to be in the zone. That's maybe it was the Paula Newby Fraser part, where she tried training like other people and just went high volume, and then it burned her out, and then she came back and just did it her own way, like just to feel good.
Yeah. And
that was so cool because I did a self-supported Ultraman this fall, and it was way over my head, right? I've never done anything that big. I'm an okay Ironman, but I am not I have no idea what I'm doing, for 3 days, but I recover really fast, right? And so I'm like, maybe this is something I'd be okay at, because every day is kind of like 2/3 of an Ironman, sort of. Yeah. And the last day's harder, but still, the first 2 days are kind of like 2/3 of an Ironman, or maybe, and maybe because my talent is recovery, I'll be okay. And my mindset going into that was I I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm just going to enjoy the moment and just totally do. I know what does work is not letting your heart rate get too high and eating and fueling as much as you can. And I'm just going to stay in that spot and move forward at that pace. And we're just going to see what happens. And if it works, it works. And so it was so cool because I was able, the goal for that event was just to be there and be in that moment. And because I wasn't thinking too much about the future or about time goals or competition or anything like that, I was able to actually just sit in that and like watch it as it was going on around me and be like really, really present. And that was my motivation for that event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. Let's see. I don't think I have anything else for you. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned both of the next two projects in the pipeline. The one is called the Endurance Diet, which is a really, really cool project, I think. I spent about a year, 15 months traveling all around the world and eating with the world's best endurance athletes. Canadian national cross-country team members. I went to Kenya and hung out with the runners, hung out with a Japanese professional women's running team, Tour de France cyclists, and I looked for common patterns and just trying to identify real world best practices. Because as we discussed, science can be used to justify just about any crazy diet. So yeah, and I found those patterns. I think I think it's again, this is something that just is kind of filling a hole or satisfying a real need, and just trying to make it a lot simpler. Just give athletes a template for diets. Like, here, this works, just do it.
Yeah.
And there's that, and then next after that will be this Iron Cowboy book.
Yeah. How do you keep all those ideas organized? Do you use like Scrivener or something like that, or yeah?
No, just I don't know. I'm pretty old school. It's just most of it's in my head, and then notebooks and files. I don't know. Got my system.
But do you start writing in like Word or something, and then you're like, well, this chapter actually goes here, and you just copy and cut and paste it to where it should go, or?
Yeah. So for every time I write a book, I have, Word files, separate Word files for each chapter, but then I have an extra file that's called discards. And that's where I move stuff that like just isn't working or doesn't fit. But sure. I don't necessarily want to annihilate because I might need it later. So there's that all important discards file. And it's funny, I talked to my dad about this. I mentioned that I had it, and he said, "You know what? I do exactly the same thing. He just has a different name for it, but like father, like son."
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're doing what works.
Yep. Yeah. At this point, it's just every writer, they need to find their method, and it just takes time. I think every writer has just an approach that works for them and is slightly different than any others.
Yeah, because then you have ownership over it. It's your way of doing it. And that goes back to training and eating, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody that's successful is pretty much doing the same thing, but they have some ownership in the process, and that's what kind of keeps them going back to doing it and enjoy doing it, because now it's their art or their style of how to do it.
Yeah. A comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
You bet. I did too.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
All right. Bye. All right. That is a little bit of The Cult back from the 80s. She Sells Sanctuary, one of my favorite songs, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it down a little bit now. We'll get in trouble if we keep playing copyrighted songs on the podcast, so we're just going to drop the volume a little bit and continue on with the show. I'd like to thank Matt Fitzgerald for being on the podcast, and the whole fat metabolism thing that he was talking about is really interesting. I had a fat heavy breakfast of scrambled eggs with a little bit of salsa and just a little bit of cereal, Raisin Bran cereal, but it was like whole grain, but with coconut milk, which is really high in fat. And then went out on a training ride and used UCAN as fuel, which is about 100 calories per hour only, instead of 250, 300. And I actually had my highest performance training ride maybe ever. And it was really, really interesting. I had tons of energy the entire time. My heart rate was nice and high, as if I was fueled on high carb, like Gatorade or whatever. And then I started the run. Let's see, on the bike I did 72 miles, so 3 hours and 15 minutes or so. 72 miles at 22 miles per hour, and felt great. And then started on the run, and then felt great. And then the heat was so unbelievably bad that I started melting down and started feeling nauseous and nauseated. And I brought the run inside right before the point of throwing up. And it was high heat and high humidity, exact same race conditions as Ironman Texas last weekend. And then got on the treadmill, and my heart rate dropped 10 beats, and my run pace picked up a minute and a half. Yeah, a minute and a half per mile because of the drop in temperature. So you can totally see why somebody like Andrew Starkowitz and the bigger guys overheat in hot races, and the smaller people do good in hot races compared to the bigger people. And yeah, that's it. But anyway, I'm here with the beautiful co-host Emily Rhodes. What's up, baby?
I thought I was allowed to talk.
You are now allowed to talk officially, now that I got all the hard part out of the way.
Okay. What's up?
So where are we?
Staring at a water park.
Why?
Because Kai did his first race of the year, the Texas Typhoon Kids Race, at the Texas Typhoon Water Park. And they swam in the lazy river and biked around the mall area and ran around the mall. And now they're swimming in the, and hopefully going on the slides in the water park.
Yeah, so after the race is over, they have free access to the water park, opening day kind of stuff. The park, you think it opens tomorrow or something like that? But anyway, so it's all triathlete kids just have taken over this water park. And I don't think the water park staff knew what to do with triathlons and triathletes and triathlon parents. We got told a couple times that we couldn't go in this one area. And then I remember this dad going, "Oh no, you're gonna let me through," like that. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not really worried." And because everything's time sensitive, and you need to get from one place to the other, and because it's a water park, and like the entrance and exits are all complicated, and there's not enough room for everybody. That everybody just started walking around, just walk around barriers and start setting up their little tents and their whatever at the at picnic tables that were open and stuff. It was actually kind of funny. But anyway, so Kai got 7th out of 48
in his age group.
Kids in his age group. Kai has a good friend who's also a training nemesis, a race nemesis, Colin. Colin beat him by a few minutes.
And he got second.
That's good, because it keeps Kai hungry to have somebody just beat him by just a little bit. It'd be nice every once. Does he ever beat Colin in anything?
Yeah, he's beat him in running it.
Yeah, he's beat him on rare occasion, which is perfect, because it gives you, in your mind, you have the you could beat somebody, your competition, if you just try really hard, and that keeps you training and it keeps you motivated. It really works. Okay, and let's see. Matt Fitzgerald sent me an email with questions in it about me being raw vegan and high fat, low carb, a little questionnaire that I'm filling out, and I might be in his next book. So I think that's called endurance fueling or endurance. I'd have to look it up.
Faster than Colin on the bike.
Oh, Kai was
8
fast.
seconds slower on the swim, and then the run was.
Okay, we're getting updates from Emily. Okay, now you're back to.
I'm silent.
You're silent. You're punished. Sit over there. There's an old episode where Emily and I wore no clothes but wore bike helmets and co-hosted a podcast together in our bed. Remember that? We wore protection helmets.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Anyway, try to find that. There's a picture of that online if you dig around long enough.
Recently.
That might be on one of the years that I posted. Patreon supporters. If you go to Patreon ZenTri, then I posted the Matt Fitzgerald interview. Like a week early or 5 days early, so people got early access. People seem to really be enjoying that. And again, there's 2 years of episodes up there from a long time ago. I need to find time and put more up there. And yeah, so that's how it's all working out. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and there's been some news updates since I recorded the official news at the front. Jesse Thomas, the guy who wins Wildflower like 5-6 times now, he won Ironman Lanzarote, and he beat Jan Frodeno by 3 minutes. And that's just awesome, man. Really, really cool. He won Ironman Wales in his Ironman debut, and beating Jan Frodeno, the current reigning world champion, and I think Jan was either an Olympian or won the gold medal in the Olympics. So yeah, that's your guy, Jesse Thomas, one to watch. And I like the way people are like, oh, well, he should do more Ironmans. Well, maybe he shouldn't. If he's winning the ones that he does, maybe more isn't better. Maybe he should just stick with what he's doing, winning Wildflower and winning the occasional Ironman, and kind of sticking with that. Oh man, that's the trap. And just because you do good doesn't mean you should do more. Speaking of more, Uberman, I've got 4, and I think now 5 crew members gathered together. I got a guy that just sent me a note saying he's interested, and that's really, really cool because he lives in Los Angeles, and that's probably where we're going to be home basing out of. And I wrote him back and I said that opens up much more possibilities of getting this thing done, to have somebody local to tell us where everything is and help out. That'd be really, really cool. And then another guy said that he is a firefighter in Nevada, I think he said. And that's really, really handy because you got all your crisis management guys right there, emergency response trained. So that'll be really neat. And if you want to help crew for Uberman, we're still looking for a couple of vehicles and sponsors to help put people up at night. Hotels cost, even though we stay cheap, hotels cost money. Flight, getting there and back, for me, and the probably 2 bikes I would have to bring in case one bike implodes. Then we're still looking for help and funding and just everything. Anyway, that's end of October, but people are starting to look at buying airline tickets now, because now's the time. So Uberman, if you go to Uberman and then the number 1, uberman1.com, you'll see that it's swimming the channel, the Catalina Channel, which is 21 miles, and then biking over California, which is 400 miles, and then running from Death Valley up to Mount Whitney, which is 135 miles run. It's the most ridiculous triathlon ever, and I'm super stoked. As soon as I heard about it, I emailed the race director, and I go, I want in. And he goes, okay, what have you done? And I said, lots of stupid stuff. And he said, okay, you qualify. Anyway, the bike news, since we were talking about bikes for a second, my Trek Speed Concept, the bike shop, was trying to run the rear derailleur, the very last thing. They were waiting for the rear derailleur to come in because I'm getting electronic, and the cable for the rear derailleur, as they were passing it through the rear triangle chainstay to get to where the cable comes out, it hit something and it wouldn't go through. And they called Trek and they said, this is a problem, right? It's not supposed to do this, right? And Trek said, yeah, send us the bike. So they disassembled the bike, sent the frame back, and Trek looked at the frame, and instead of just sending a new frame, they took even more time and said, no, we want to look at it and see what's wrong with it. And, they could have been like, oh, we got a customer. Let's get them a new frame, and then we'll work on this other one while we take 2 weeks to look at the old frame. But anyway, the Trek said that The frame looked good. They cleaned out. It was just carbon junk in there, and they cleaned it out, and they are sending it back. The bike shop said it should be, Trek said it should be back at the bike shop on Monday. And I'll bet that's really like Monday or Tuesday. And then the bike shop said it would take them like a day or two to put it all back together. And I bet that'll be like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So maybe we'll have a new Trek with electronic shifting maybe by the end of the week. That's what I'm hoping for. So that's the bike status. I also killed my Jaybirds with sweat. You have heat, and then you have Texas heat, which just the humidity just produces an insane amount of sweat, and it'll even kill sweat-proof stuff. And my Jaybirds made it through the winter and through most of the spring, and then bam, they just won't turn on. Every time I take them back to Best Buy, they go, "Man, you sure return these quickly." I'm like, "Yeah, yep." And I just stare at them until they hand over a new pair. But that's the way I roll. Okay, let's see. We put Kai on Zwift, my 11-year-old. We had him log in as me. And then you can change your, you have to do it before you log in though. You can change your weight and your height and all that stuff. And what we did was he doesn't have a power meter. And Zwift is that video game that reads your speed off the bike. And you play a video game riding around. And on Thursday, this is Sunday, so a few days ago, there was rain and lightning and stuff like that, so they canceled bike practice. So I put Kai on Zwift, this video game, and on a trainer, and his bike has a speed and cadence sensor by Garmin on it. And I said, just ride along, and we're going to get to the base of the mountain. And that took about 10 minutes to get to the base of maybe 15 minutes to get to the base of the mountain. And then I popped it into a harder gear, and I said, climb until you get to the German village. And he did that and actually got there fast enough where I said, keep going and get to the castle. So Kai climbed the equivalent, he climbed 800 feet, which is 80 stories, in just under half an hour, like 28 minutes. I posted a picture of it on Instagram, and that was his bike training for the day. And Emily's over there laughing about something. Can you say what it is?
A zebra running man.
A zebra running man?
People dressed up like a zebra.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's great. Emily's laughing at stuff on Facebook. Why do you Emily, this is a professional podcast. Okay. Thanks. Now, so the thing is my whole point is, can a kid ride Zwift? And yes, absolutely. You'd have to create them an account. This was just a one-time thing to see if it would work. And it does. You don't need a power meter. You just need a speed sensor on your bike. And we also put my heart rate strap on him. And it could see what his heart rate was. So I knew if he was working hard or not, or if he was slacking off. It was kind of funny. And then he liked it. A really easy way to get in a good bike ride, So if you parents out there are looking for a way for your kid to get in some riding that's more fun, it's still not like a kid's game. It's probably not that fun, but it's still a useful tool. And let's see, let's go to donations. So on the left side of ZenTri, you can donate by PayPal, do a recurring donation if you don't want to do the Patreon thing. You just want to do a PayPal thing, which is super cool. You can do a recurring or a one-time, but either way, you get the opportunity to shoot me an email. And and also there's Hornet Juice on the right-hand side, and I'll get to. Hornet Juice is an amino acid powder that you add to your fuel, and you won't need as much fuel. It turns on the fat burning, like we've been talking about, and it's just amazing stuff. The people that write in, let me see if I have any. We'll see if we have any this week from people that write in from it. It works so well. It's actually really unbelievable, and it's an amino acid that's the same profile as Japanese killer hornet saliva, and it's what they eat to metabolize their own fat, and they are the biggest, heaviest bugs that can fly the farthest in the world. And so hornet juice is the same amino acid ratios that they have to turn on the burning of your own body fat, and it works. It works really, really well. So if you get some of that, then you can help support the show, because a tiny little bit that you put towards hornet juice goes back to ZenTri, and then you also have something cool in your hands that you can show off, and it works. So it's like three things. You support ZenTri, something works for you, and it's something cool for you to show your friends. So like, how could you say no to that? I mean, it's like the coolest thing ever. So let's read some emails. Donation. Oh, the hornet juice is on the right side of zentriathlon.com. Donations are on the left side. And let's see, we got an email. Oh, where's the name? Well, anyway, a guy wrote in and said, I would really like, okay, I'm trying to catch up here, that you have to add music segment after the interviews. Yeah, well, we can't do that much longer. It's awesome to be introduced to good music that would not have been exposed to otherwise. That's what I think, too. Especially when you played Wolf Mother Colossal. So everybody go check that out. It's such a good song to wake up to. And oh, he said Wolf Mother : Colossal, and he said, haha, I got you to say colon. Anyway, like I say to my son, stay epic. Cool. Oh, by the way, if people put exclamation points in their emails, I read the exclamation points, and I get tested all the time. People will send in stuff and then put exclamation points after it to see if I say it. And I think the same person wrote, when it comes to exercise, like mouthwash and aftershave, the burn means it's working. That's true. I'm gonna run with that. I'm gonna use that. Donation from John Hayes and Michael Radogna and Brett Hoyer, the coolest first name in triathlon. James Medlock, and he did a one-time donation, a nice big donation. And thank you. I wrote with an exclamation point. Kypros says, oh, we got a long one. This is good. Hi, Brett. Good to hear from you again. Another order of hornet juice in, and just waiting on the 100 sachets. Yeah, I need to talk to hornet juice and see if they're bringing back the 100 pack again, because hornet juice comes in 10 and 20 right now, and we'll be on it like a flash. After my first 6 weeks on hornet juice, progress with hornet juice has been amazing. Last month, I set a Master A British record, and 2 weeks ago, I knocked 40 seconds off. This has qualified me to represent Britain in the World Series starting in Austria in June, and July will be the European champs. Holy crap. Whilst others in training flag near the end, that means they get tired, flag near the end of the sets, my energy just wants to do more. Yeah, that's the fat burning thing going. It's weird. You just never get tired. However, I have found a consequence to the hornet juice. You need to eat more! Exclamation point. That's interesting. The fat has just dropped off. Oh, that's good. Brett, what happens once the fat has gone? How will hornet juice work then? Question mark. Emily.
I'm sorry.
What happens? Emily's a nurse.
I don't know the answer to your question.
What's your question? What happens when you run out of body fat?
You get skinny?
No, like completely run out of body fat.
You live?
Would you die?
I don't think so. Why would you die?
Because you have no body fat left.
Well, at some point, we're all going to die, yeah.
Okay,
I don't
so...
know how to answer that.
Kypros, at some point we're all going to die.
How skinny I got when I found out I was diabetic, and I was
And you almost died?
I was eating, and I was losing weight because I was burning fat. Remember?
Yeah.
Because my shirt we didn't know what was wrong with me. Remember that? I had like 5% body fat.
It's kind of sexy.
Okay, anyway. Except I felt like crap. Yeah,
That doesn't matter.
There's that.
We're also into how we look, not how we feel. All right, so Emily says you'll probably live, so don't worry about it. But seriously, yeah, I guess you just need to eat more. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about things that haven't happened yet. That's your Zen lesson. That's your Zen lesson for the week. Don't worry about problems that haven't happened yet. It's a waste of your time. All right, love the podcast. And then parentheses, BTW, what is the music you use at the start of the podcast? That's called Baja Taxi, I think. And that's a good one. All right, so Ken Soderquist sent in a donation. Il Signal, I always have trouble saying that. Karen Jackson, that's nice and simple. What are you laughing at? You make a podcast, and I'm going to see how you pronounce things.
No, you're doing great.
Okay, Daniel Clemens, Simon Wright, Justice Phillips. Justice, man, how you doing? And Jonathan Woodman. Justice? Yeah. And then when you're, like, say you're his girlfriend or something like that, and then you're with him, then it's just us.
That's
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm going to name myself Justice. For the rest of this podcast, I'm Justice.
Okay, Justice.
Hey, right now, it's just us.
Right about now.
Right about now, it's time to take off our shirts.
Did you know he's in a new movie?
Matthew McConaughey?
So warm.
All right. I keep getting older, and they keep staying the same age. All right. Jonathan Woodman and somebody named Karen. Let's see. Karen, we got another email from Karen. Let's see. Or another long email. It's good. Hi, Brett, thanks for confirming on the Hornet Juice order, really looking forward to trying it out after hearing all the great reviews on your podcast. Period. I'm waiting for an exclamation point. I'm looking ahead. Guys, I don't think there's a single exclamation point in this 3 paragraphs. It's a bummer. I just found your podcast in the last month or so, and I've been listening to it every day in the last few weeks. Thanks for all the great interviews and training tips. Love the combination of your laid-back attitude, man, with the epic levels of endurance sports. Inspiring stuff, exclamation point, baby.
That's awesome, honey.
Good. There was an exclamation point in there. I love exclamation points. I've got my first open water.
Lane on Sunfeld.
Yeah, I'm going to put an exclamation point here and
here.
here. And maybe I'm going to put one here. I've got my first open water sprint triathlon this weekend in Loch Lomond near Glasgow, Scotland. Oh, wait. Do you think she's Scottish? Should I read it with my Scottish accent?
Oh, God, no.
Glasgow, Scotland. The water will be pretty cold, around 10 degrees. Okay, I can't do it. But hopefully, no, I'm getting my accents mixed. Use the Zen principles to help get me through the cold swim. Thanks again,
Like
Connor McLeod from the Clan McLeod in the Highlands of Scotland. You, moms, get your kids. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? Okay, back to the podcast. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, you don't
Bonjour, you cheese-eating surrender monkeys. Okay. Hun Chu, who I used to coach. How's he doing? And Katie Jo Favia came in with a nice donation. All right, so that is our entertaining donations section. So send in a donation, and maybe you'll get your name read. I want to kind of start doing that, the nicknames for everybody, but I don't know if I can do them on the fly. Like, or if they'd be any good. Like John Hayes or John Hangman Hayes. That's not a good nickname at all. It's terrible. Emily's just on the Facebook again.
I'm
so,
taking stuff since I'm going to be
Karen Jammin Jackson.
Are you making these up?
Daniel
Are you making
Caveman Clemens. Simon Winging It Right. Just Us. Justice Phillips. Jonathan All Steel Not Wood Woodman. What about Hun Chu? Hun the Locomotive Chew, like a choo-choo train. Katie Jo, I'm going to leave out somebody. Katie Jo, Slow Joe, but she want to be fast. Katie, the Flow, Joe Favia. There you go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the training log. That's been enough silliness. And Emily and I and Kai are going to drive back to College Station. I almost said Houston. We're in Houston, and we're going to drive back to College Station. It's about an hour and a half drive from Katy, where this race was today. And I'm going to continue recovering. I was a mess yesterday afternoon, wasn't I?
We're just narrowing it down to that little section.
that one time.
Section. That one.
I had heat exhaustion, didn't I? Yeah. I was still hot and my face was all red for like 5 hours after finishing yesterday.
You just had no energy at all. You were grumpy anyway, but you could tell you were wiped out. Yeah. You were really moving in slow motion and
limping. And that was I figured out I did 5 hours nonstop yesterday. So, but anyway, that's it. All right, here's the training log. Here we go.
You are entering the ZenTri training log zone. Huneli.
Hi everybody, my name is Brett. I'm a triathlete.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on, dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
All right, I'm running. I got Kai with me. He's on my bike. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and record before it really starts raining. What'd you say?
I said, what's up?
Make that wheel sing. Spin it backwards. Yeah. All right. So Kai's riding with me. We're on the Ultra Baby course, actually. And Kai's got some clipless shoes that he's been trying out over the past couple days. What do you think?
They're cool. They're my new ones.
And it's really starting to rain. I better get off the mic or else it's going to ruin my phone. But I'm running 9 miles wearing a Camelback. And I will report back. Back, get it? Back, get it? That's an Andrew Dice Clay one. Now it's working. Seems to be working pretty good. And the Starkey diluting your fuel in the Aero bottle seems to be working miraculously. It's like really good. Hey, let's go down here. All right, I'll be back in a bit. Bye.
Hello. All right. Getting into the car after a swim Monday morning. And, man, I gotta say, I was halfway into my run yesterday, my brick run, after that bike. And I was like, oh yeah, usually I don't feel good right now. I feel great. I forgot what it was like to be struggling for energy and all that, sort of. So my review of the Starkey fueling method, which I'm sure lots of people do. Some people are like, duh. But is amazing. And it's a big difference if you dilute your fuel properly to the ratio that it's supposed to be in the first place, instead of taking a shot of concentrate and then drinking water afterwards. Man, it makes a huge difference. And I remember, interviewing Angela Nath, and the place where I got the idea for the concentrate bottle was from her, but she was doing Olympic distances at the time and trying to succeed at half. So that was quite a few years ago. That was 2011, I think. Kima, I interviewed her there. And then a few years later, when she won Chattanooga, I was talking to her or her husband, Paul Duncan, and they said, do your fuel bottle per hour, 1 bottle per hour. That is not concentrate. That is 1 bottle per hour, and carry it on your bike. And the aerodynamic penalty is practically nothing. Anyway, it's not that much. And then your bottles are diluted a whole lot more. So your fuel doesn't make you, there's no chance your fuel can make you sick. And so you can see the progression and growth in success and mindset there. And it looks like Starkey is doing a hybrid where he's carrying concentrate, but he's diluting it to dilute to regular strength on the fly. And then he's got the best of both worlds. He's not carrying extra bottles, and he's got all of the stuff diluted at the right time. And that, because I know I've heard some of these people that do a bottle per hour, they have to stop and get refuel at the halfway point on the bike. A special needs bag, that's what it's called. So anyway, so I'm running yesterday, and you heard me running with Kai. I was in a great mood. I took a picture of me with a horse. That was funny. Horse kept trying to eat my my back, because I had a camelback on my back, and it could probably smell me in general. It's like, hey, this guy's got sugar, yum, and salt. And the coolest thing that I realized yesterday, my next training tip, is I ran fine with a camelback. I took a 20-ounce bike bottle and poured 2 of that into the camelback. So I had about 40 ounces of water. And I'm running along, and then on my waist belt, I had my fuel diluted. And I'm just running along. Oh, and I did Hornet juice. I did 2 servings of Hornet juice yesterday. And that made it great as well. And I biked 65 miles at 21.6 miles per hour. And I was wearing like a kind of a loose jersey and a regular bike helmet. So, and it was really windy. So you're talking potential to be like doing 22 miles an hour for 65 miles or something. And then got off the bike and kind of like got my stuff together, and then hit the run and ran 9.5 miles at a 9.5 minute mile pace, which is just jogging for me. Unfortunately, I'm not faster than that. That's high zone 2 for me. And the camelback, if you cinch it up, it doesn't bother you. And then you got all the water you could ever need. And also on the bike, the camelback I bought is one of these fluorescent yellow. It's like highlighter yellow. And that is awesome to have on your back on the bike, because you don't, your potential of being hit by a car drops significantly because you are hideously yellow, which is cool. And then you can take that on every ride. And it's got little pockets too. You could carry extra stuff. You could have like emergency gel or something like that in there if you wanted, always. And then, in fact, that'd be pretty smart. Put an emergency gel in there. And the other thing that hit me was like, I could have been putting ice water in that camelback. And I've done that before, running with ice water in the summer, and it cools you from the inside out. And that is brilliant. And you may say, hey, but the hose, you're going to have to get one of those insulated hoses, or else the ice water is going to turn warm in the hose, while it's over your shoulder in the sun. And that's both, that is correct. An insulated hose would be smart. But also, if you blow back into the camelback hose, it'll clear the hose just down to air. And then the water that's in the hose will be back into where all the ice is, and that will cool off the water again. So the next gulp of water you take is ice water. It takes a little bit of extra effort to blow that water back in. I've never done the insulated thing, so I don't know how worth it that is. And but anyway, I was kicking ass, and I was like, yay! And I've got that foot injury, the plantar fasciitis, and it started hurting about 6-7 miles in. I think as I warm up and get moving faster and faster, and as I increase speed, because I was probably running a 8:45 pace, the second half of that, because I was running slower at the beginning, warming up. I think that's what that extra speed does me in. And so anyway, the foot injury is still there. Still trying to be careful with it and not run faster, or else I would have run faster. So I'm just jogging easy. But my point is the camelback. I ran just as fast carrying that camelback as I usually do without it. maybe 10 seconds per mile slower. And the reason I remembered it, and it's okay for me to do that, is that interview I did with Malte Bruns, the top amateur at Kona, crossed the line wearing a Camelback, first place at Kona, on the run carrying a Camelback. So if he can do it, then there's really not that much wrong with it. And I was also telling Kai, the one time I've tried the 100-mile trail run twice, and the one time I succeeded in it and finished it with time to spare was a lot of time to spare, I think, quite a few hours, was when I wore a Camelback. So how about that? Pretty interesting, huh? All the hydration you could ever want. And then in the Camelback, I guess you could mix in like some salt and electrolytes if you wanted to. But then you got to clean it or else it'll go bad. But you can throw it in the freezer and nothing will grow in it. It's pretty cool if you do that after every ride. All right, I got to go. I'm going to a school zone. Got to get off the phone. Out, bang. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to mention that was all Sunday. All that was 4.5 hours of training. And then nothing Sunday evening. And I'm getting better at recuperating. Taking the time to recuperate so that Monday morning I could go back to the pool and swim. And instead of doing the chute intervals, the parachute, drag chute intervals, I just swam easy and then started accelerating, and then just swam continuous freestyle and did, I think, like 3,500 yards. But I only swam 55 minutes. I didn't make it to the pool I didn't make it for a full hour. Didn't get there quite early enough. And I left. I got in the driveway to leave, and I realized I had no belt. So I had to go back into the house, find a belt. Took a little while. And but anyway, my point is, when I was getting up and getting ready to go, I had like a very small breakfast. But then I had UCAN Super Starch after a while. About half an hour, 45 minutes before I got to the pool. I drank that and then had a really good swim workout. And what I did for the swim, you got to be careful, by the way, if you add UCAN Super Starch to really hot water. I forgot what the temperature is, but 150 degrees or 130 degrees or something like that. The hot water will denature the resistant starch and turn it into fast-acting starch. It'll undo the whole point of why you bought it and just turn it into straight sugar again. Chemistry 101 and or something. But the swim, I did consistent pace. I kept warming up and mixed in a few kind of 100-yard intervals, but without stopping, just kind of faster than race pace. And then what I wanted to say is that I got up to the point where I was doing about a half Ironman pace and instead of an Ironman pace. Ironman pace is so slow, it's actually not going to improve you. But if you train at a half Ironman pace, then when you back down, so it's basically the top of your aerobic ability and a little bit of muscle strain, just a little bit. And that'll improve your aerobic ability, and it'll also increase your muscle strength. And then on race day, when you're doing an Ironman, you back off of that just a little bit. And you know that the distance you can go at a good clip, increases exponentially the slower that you go. So if you run all out, you can only go, a quarter mile before you have to stop. But if you slow down to a walk, you can walk across the United States. So if you train at one level and then back down, then you can go at another level for a really long time. And you've built up this efficiency and everything. So if you train, half Ironman takes some people 4 hours, takes some people 6, 7 hours. But anyway, if you train at what you can do at about a half Ironman pace or speed, then when you back down to a Ironman speed, then you should be able to finish it comfortably and go all day and just blow up at kind of the end. As you should, right across the finish line, theoretically. All right, I'm at, so I was doing kind of high aerobic, but a little bit of muscle strain, kind of dabbling in and out of overdoing it, going over the fence just a little bit and back across the fence, over the fence and then back on this side of the fence, over the fence and then back on this side of the fence, and doing that for almost an hour, and minus the 15-20 minutes it took me to get up to speed in the first place. And that was really, really nice. All right, that is it. I'm at W to the ERK. I need a snack. Oh, the UCAN Superstarch works. Man, it works really well. It's really cool. I was just cruising along, feeling great, and I'm still like really not hungry. The needing a snack is more out of habit than anything else. All right, out, bang. All right, morning swim done, on the way to work, W to the ERK, and have a great training tip for you. So I was running on the treadmill last night and saw that nice high cadence, good pace, how I was breathing. Because it's very hard. Well, let me get back to something. Wearing a heart rate strap, right? So I'm cruising along, 135 beats per minute, cruising along really good. It's just on the edge of sustainable, but very sustainable. And as long as I keep fueling, then I can just keep doing that. It seemed like forever, and it's fast, and it has to do with a nice high turnover and not letting the heart rate climb out of control. So keeping the heart rate at MAF, which is 180 minus your age, or just a tiny bit. That's the breaking point. So you keep it just a little bit under that. So I was watching how I was breathing when I was doing that, and basically I was on the out breath. I was pursing my lips to about the size of a ballpoint pen, and so that's really a useful thing to know. So, right? So that was my breathing level. That's the effect it had on my body. So when I swam this morning, and I'm not wearing a heart rate strap, I'm just swimming by feel, I did the exact same thing. I swam at a medium to high cadence, but only to the point of where I had to breathe out, not huffing for air, but just breathing out, like pursing my lips about to the size of a ballpoint pen could fit through on the out breath. And I ended up swimming 4,075 yards in an hour, and my arms never really got that tired. So that's almost an Ironman swim in an hour, and it was sustainable, actually. And it's a really, really good training tip to figure out what works on the bike or on the run, and then do it in the swim. And the one thing that you can carry over is feel and also breathing. Because let's say even your heart rate strap fails, your breathing is a really good indicator of the stress on your body. And if you keep your breathing, if you keep the stress down on your body to the point where it's sustainable, and you can tell sustainable by monitoring stuff through practice and seeing what is sustainable, then you can replicate in the pool, or you can do it for longer workouts, and how to keep from overreaching and have a great workout and extend your abilities. So I'm really excited. Project Broken Wing is where I broke my arm in December very badly, and it's really messed up my arm, and I'm slowly trying to get back to where I was. And I'm essentially there. I'd like to get even faster than what I was. So I think we're really, really, really close. Because the entire time I was swimming and breathing like that, it kept me from trying too hard. So I finished the swim and I felt fine. Like I could have tried a whole lot harder. But I didn't. And that's also a sustainable training, it allows you to get it in consistency. And I still covered some mega yardage, and I'm super stoked. At one point, my inner elbow tweaked badly. And I was like, oh man. So I'm still not quite there with the total arm healing yet, but I'm very happy. I mean, that is fine. That speed, that's more than enough. I got other things to work on, like my run, majorly. So my math speed on the run is like a low 9-minute mile, which is not good. I need to be a lot faster than that. So I need to work on that next. All right, that's it. Out. Bang. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this show. Had some interesting stuff happen the past couple days. I realized, had a long talk with Emily. We are now into the critical time to be training for Ironman Canada. Time to start going bigger volume. I got a problem because I got plantar fasciitis in my feet. I have to figure out how to run without it hurting. And I do know that if I run at an easy pace and not too long, I can actually heal and continue running. But the problem is the incentive to go faster, and take on some hills and stuff like that is so enticing that it keeps messing me up. I ran hard yesterday. Well, not really hard. Well, I don't know, kind of medium. And, the rest of the day, my freaking foot hurt bad, both feet actually. And I ran this morning and was feel fine, So I'm like, golly, cut it out, Brett. If I just kind of keep it, at a nice pace, then I should be able to wing it and keep growing volume without hurting myself, and just have faith that the speed will pick up as I gradually, lose a little bit of weight and get more efficient and all that good stuff. On that note, running and biking with the Camelback. Oh my gosh, this is such... I know I said it earlier, but this is such a game changer. I mean, holy cow, it's so great. If you cinch up the Camelback enough, it will not bounce around much. And I'm running with no shirt for an hour and a half, and I'm fine. No chafing. You think it might chafe, but then it actually doesn't. And before the bike or the run, now it's getting really hot here in Texas. I mean, it's like really bad. Fill it up mostly with ice and half ice, half water. Kind of depends on how long you're out there and how hot it is. And it's so good to be I was running this morning, and to have a sip of cool ice water while you're running along, and also to be running hands-free, so you got better form, and oh man, it's great. And I got one, like I've said, that's Dayglow yellow. It's fluorescent yellow. So I know on the bike and on the run, cars can see me a whole lot better. So yesterday, speaking of the bike, Kai had bike practice for an hour. So I brought my bike, and I went off on my own loop for an hour and rode while Kai and his team, they go riding with the coaches and do their own loop for about an hour plus. And the time on the trainer is so incredible. It takes 2 minutes to get used back to the road again, and then when you get going, that trainer time, you're such a metronome. It's like you're a sewing machine. It's crazy. So I did an hour ride, and I kept it right below maximum aerobic threshold function. So for me, that's below 140 beats. So I ended up averaging 132 beats, but that included, starting off and stuff. But so at an average of 132 beats for an hour exactly, like 59 minutes and 30 seconds or something. Had 500 feet of elevation gain, so it wasn't flat; it was rolling. Some good little hills and stuff in there. A little bit of crosswind and a little bit of headwind on the way back. I averaged 23.1 miles an hour, and I had a cadence of 87. Average cadence of 87. So that includes coasting down some hills. I had 2 stop signs. I had to stop and touch the ground and then keep going again. Kind of roll through real slowly. and that's all included. So that high speed was from high watts, but that high watts comes from high cadence. So if you I've always told people this, if you practice high cadence, then it becomes easier to do, as it becomes more easy to do, and then high cadence lessens the load on your legs, and then you're able to pedal harder for longer. And I couldn't believe it either. I was just like, I wonder what my speed was, and it was 23.1 or something, including that slowing down for the stop signs and such. 3 stop signs, now I think 4. Well, anyway, but the other thing that was cool. And then when I wrapped it up, I was there with Kai, and then I came home and had a nice beer, a Shiner Bock, which was pretty cool. And then the other cool thing is I posted on Instagram a video of a hognose snake. And so I was riding, and all of a sudden there was a snake on the side of the road, and I stopped my watch and went over and checked it out because I thought it might be a hognose the way it was acting. And hold on, I got a distraction coming here. It's so cool because on the video you can see hognoses act kind of like cobras, where they flatten out their heads whenever they get agitated. And I caught it on video. As I got near it, it started flattening out its head. And I'm trying to hold my bike and trying to keep my bike between it and me, because it's still a snake, even though it's harmless. And hold on a second, I'm gonna pause. Golly, I had this person like driving up behind me and acting all crazy, so it's really distracting. You can't drive like that. Anyway, the hognose snake is really cool because first you can tell it's a hognose because its nose turns up at the front just a little bit. It has kind of a flat nose. It's really weird. And then the other thing it does is when you get in its face first it'll spread its neck out like a cobra. And then the next step is it'll flip over on its back and curl up its tail like it's dead. It'll play dead and just lay there and expose its belly. And it's hard to see on the Instagram video because Instagram cuts off a video. But right after that, it started really twisting over on its side. It was about to turn over on its back. And it was curling up its tail. And then I didn't want to mess with it too bad. I'm not there to torture animals or anything like that. I just wanted to get a video of it so I could show Kai and Emily. And then a farmer on a tractor pulls up, and he was about to run over it on purpose. He started veering at it with the tractor, and he thought he was helping me, like, let's kill this snake, because some people are like that. They want to just kill snakes, especially poisonous ones. And I got between him and the snake, and I said, no, it's cool. I had to yell because the tractor is a diesel tractor, and he rolled down his window, and I said, it's just a hognose, it's cool. And he goes, oh, it's a hognose, okay, cool. And I wouldn't kill a poisonous snake either that's out in the wild, like minding its own business. And it's part of the what do you call it, the chain of life or whatever that movie is, the circle of life. If it's not bothering you, you don't bother it. And I'm out there in its territory. But anyway, I thought I'd share that. So great ride. Things are coming together. Ironman Canada is the next big race. We've got some kids triathlons coming up that I'm going to go do. I'm going to continue with the training with the Camelback and update y'all with how well that works, and if I keep recommending it, and also how to manage foot issues and see if it's possible to keep training and fix things. And we'll see. All right, that's it. Everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.